Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name's Wedge, it really is. And I'm an intranet consultant at ClearBox Consulting. We're a boutique consultancy. We've been going for 15, 17 years now, I think, with Sam Marshall. And we focus on the digital workplace, comms and content, and often intranets. So, have you got the Q&A panel open? Are you living comfortably? Then I'll begin. These are the topics we're going to look at today as we consider better departmental intranet sites or sections. So we'll look at what not to do in the usual. We'll focus or we'll discuss the purpose of your department site. I'll give you the concept of the shop window and the workshop. I'll walk you through what we should be doing in order to design a better department intranet section. And that will lead us to the service-focused, colleague-oriented department landing page. And then we'll do the Q&As. So if you've got the Q&A panel open now, you can ask your questions as I go through. I should be able to rattle through this in about 29 minutes, but I'm going to slow myself down. So we're going to have about a 35-minute lecture and then perhaps 10 minutes of Q's and A's. So what's the usual department intranet site? Well, it often starts with a hero image, some kind of banner across the whole of the screen. And when you're on one of those expensive laptops, it probably takes up the whole of the screen. It's a bit of a waste of space, really. Obviously, there's a meet the team page or section on the landing page, and that will be a great many photographs of your teammates and colleagues within the team. Hopefully with some contact details or reasons to contact you. There will be a plethora of contact us links and buttons. Each one will say contact us or email us, and you're never quite sure what will happen. What will probably happen is that somebody will click and it will automatically launch Outlook, whether you have Outlook installed or not, whether you're on mobile, iPad, or desktop or laptop. So that can be a bit frustrating. I just want to know your email address, but click here to contact us instead. There will likely be entire sentences in bold, rambling, embarrassingly apologetic, angry missives, really. Whole paragraphs saying it has come to our attention that the green form is still being used when we have deprecated the green form. So we put all that in bold, of course, because it's so very important. But when bold isn't enough, we'll use red text, of course. So do not use the green form that we deprecated. I don't know what the word deprecated means, but we're an important business. So we're going to say the green form is deprecated. Please use the blue form. And of course, we will send our end users to a dumpster dive of yellow Windows-like folders. Click, click, click as you go through some kind of folder structure, hoping to find a document that you might need. So that's the usual. It's the About Us landing page, really, because it's about us. Here's an example. Now, today's critique is not really about SharePoint, but you might recognize this as a pretty standard SharePoint site landing page. Let's have a look at it step by step. DD. So there's some kind of acronym going on here, abbreviation going on, and that's from the site name. It's not always useful. It depends on how you've named your site. This really can be a site identifier image. I'm very careful not to say logo, but it really can be a site identifier image. But, if you don't do that, you'll have 100 sites out there with acronyms. Then you might be left with the default menu, which is documents, pages, and site contents. Now, documents and pages, they are your site contents. So wherever you click, you will be in the bowels of SharePoint. You will be in the light back end, not the heavy back end of SharePoint, but you'll be in the light back end of this particular SharePoint site. I don't see any reason of sending our end users to the back end at all, ever. Those 3 links are for the site creator, the admin in the first day when you're creating and developing your site. So we really should replace them. Of course, you will get 3, 4, 5 hero images. Everybody loves the hero image. SharePoint gives you this by default very often. And so we end up keeping it. After all, SharePoint gave it to me, so I'm keeping it. And yet those images will become 5-day-old fish very, very quickly. They always look like they were designed by a stock image company in the last millennium, and they tend to hang around forever and ever, whether they're still useful or not. Let's see, our commitment to furthering the environmental impact of something, and the image is a tree. Is that fair? Maybe it is actually. I love trees, but our mission. Am I going to click that then? If I need help, am I going to read your mission first to understand what you can help me with? I am not. Our mission, that's your mission. I'm not interested. Then we get down to news. Now, this headline writer thinks that the word application is a proper noun because it's so very important. They've capitalized the A in application because it's so very important to the team. Okay. They've also wasted the page description. Can you see the excerpt underneath the headline? I can't say the word excerpt, but I love spelling it. But the excerpt, as you can see, is basically a repeat of the headline. What a waste. This person cannot be a professional communicator. Let's have a look at the next headline. The next headline is all in caps. This person believes that titles must be in title case as they were taught at school in 1985. I bet your style guide says that our style is to use sentence case for titles. Tell me I'm wrong. I haven't read your style guide, but I have read about 100 of them so far, and they all say use sentence case. They've also wasted the excerpt, the page description underneath that title, because although it's custom and unique, it just says something random. It's possibly the first paragraph in the actual article, and therefore there's no keywords, it's not information dense. It means nothing to me reading it here on the screen. So we've got reasonably poor headlines and we've got terrible page descriptions or excerpts. As I scroll down the page, we get something that looks like, oh, also, sorry, just there on Adam Bradley, that might be the author of the content, might be the author of that news article, but it might be the publisher. It depends what people do. If it's the publisher, maybe that's a shame. Maybe that person's name there at the bottom and that person's face should be the content owner. Whether they touch SharePoint or not, the person who is owning the content, the person who is responsible for that process or news post, maybe their name should be there and not the publisher. So scrolling down now, what do we see here? Okay, so some empty space. What am I noticing? Okay, so these are badly labeled buttons in a bizarre vertical display, which waste space. Can you see all of that empty space to the right of those buttons? And that's because the person designing this page doesn't know how to use columns within the horizontal sections of the page. SharePoint doesn't particularly help you. I mean, it does once you know what you're doing, but it's a bit intimidating. So this person knows that buttons are easy to see and easy to use, but they've whacked them in without thought for the layout because they don't know about columns when they're dealing with sections. So that wastes a lot of space. Events. Okay, does your department really do events? If you have no events, then we're hoping that this web part, this content box, does not show to end users. That's good, but there's always the risk that there'll be just one event here. And you just have to ask yourself, is that real? Will you definitely put that event on? And how do people subscribe to it? And then at the bottom, there's just this massive image for some reason. Not really sure. Maybe it's for brand purposes. People think that brand equals engagement, but I just don't think that's true. So if it's an on-brand image, fine, but what's the purpose of it? As we scroll down, let's see if we can guess. No, I can't guess what that image is for, but somebody said that our page was boring and we needed more images. Quick links, what is that title for? Anyone who's been in intranet design or web design for the last 20 years knows that we laugh at the phrase quick links because the opposite of that would be slow links. Would we ever publish slow links? No. So why would we ever think that quick is a useful title at all? I know SharePoint calls this box of links quick links. but that's no reason to inflict that word upon our end users. So that's a title for these quick links. Again, these may well be poorly labeled buttons or links, and they're randomly grouped. They've been put into one group because the person goes, oh, well, I need a box of links. And they think that they should use one box because, why would you use two? Well, the reason you would use two boxes of links is so that you can separate different types of links and give each of them a sensible title. So on the left, there might be need to know links or next step links. And on the right, there might be guide links, nice to know links. I don't know. But the point is, if we look at these 6 links, there's probably something about separating them out into useful in a certain way and useful in a different way. And that way we can entitle them separately and have 2 links boxes. Also, just to mention, as I always will, some of these links might end up being PDF or Word documents, but you or the end user just can't tell. We need to label our links. We need to label our buttons. I'm guessing that second one, that disbursement service manual, again, that's a useful term, isn't it? Disbursement. I'm guessing that that's a Word document. And really, we need to put the Word icon there and use square brackets Word so that we're explicit in what will happen next when someone clicks. And here's some of our team members. This isn't bad at all. We love it at all. We love it. Let's show our people. We don't have to do a meet the team page. But I will notice that Darren Dazzles hasn't completed his profile. And even Adam Bradley there on the left, it does say manager, but he's got another field that he could complete. And then at the bottom, for some reason, we've got comments. Now, I'm a big fan of comments on our topic pages, on our reference pages, even on our news pages. But on a landing page is not specific. It covers a great deal of content. So all that's going to happen is you're going to get a random comment saying, hey, Janine, when's the submission deadline? And that comment really should be on one of your process maps or one of your how-to pages about submissions and about deadlines. So it's just weird to have comments on a landing page knowing that they will be quite specific comments rather than general. So why do we turn comments off on our landing pages, on our department home pages, but make sure they're turned on for our reference pages and news posts? Oh, and at the bottom, very, very bottom, we've got no footer. Maybe that's fine, but we're missing a trick if we're not at least thinking about the footer. So does that make sense? I hope you recognize that, whether you're using SharePoint or not. I hope you recognize some of the things that I've gone through just there. So before we look at a good example, let's consider the purpose of your site so you can go back to basics and really evaluate what you intend your end users to get out of your site. So it's much less about what you want and a lot more about what they want. Knowing that they, in an organization of 1,000 or 8,000, they are not one mass. They are multiple different audiences. So let's remind ourselves, in the old days, when you walked into a store, somebody behind a desk, somebody behind I don't know, that desk thing, cabinet, would serve you like in a Two Ronnies sketch. And then supermarkets came along and we had to teach people to go and take things off the shelf yourself. So self-serve is a fantastic concept, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to self-serve. We have to make it easy for them. We have to help them serve themselves by giving it to them within reach. Otherwise, you're going to continue to get people asking you to serve them via message, phone calls, and email. Please give me your time and fix things for me. But the self-serve way, the supermarket way, is to present a showroom, to present a shop window and let people serve themselves. But to get that correct and to make it successful, we have to make sure that we're providing the services directly in our shop window. So you and your departmental colleagues, you and your team need to really focus on what self-serve means. For you, it'll reduce emails, phone calls, and complaints, perhaps. But for your end users, we have to make the services really discreet and obvious and help them know where to get the guidance and where to actually start the service, how to initiate that service. And yes, of course, let's give people our contact details, but not generically. Let's give it specifically at the point of need. So when they go to a particular service, they'll get the right person with your team to help them with that service. So let me give you, and you can screenshot that slide if you so wish, of course, but we will give you the video via email tomorrow, I think, or maybe even today. So I want to give you the shop window versus the workshop concept. Now, I wrote about this in 2015, long before Microsoft Teams came out, but now it really would be probably about Microsoft Teams being that workshop, that private area. So what we're doing is we're defining the intranet department section or site as the showroom. It's your shop window to show off your very best services and what people really need. And so that's your public shop window or showroom for people to wander around and get what they need. At no time do you involve them in your back-end workshop. At no time do you invite them into your private Microsoft Teams area where the 3 to 30 of you actually do your work, process requests, and actually continue the processes that you offer, the processes and services. So Microsoft Teams is for your 3 to 30 actual teammates to effect work, to get work done and to coordinate everything that your team offers to the business. Whereas your showroom, your intranet department site, is to showcase your services and to give people access to your how-to guides and to actually start those services and processes. So how do we do that? How do we move away from the About Us vanity pages and move towards a self-serve department site that is truly useful to your end users? Well, I say that you get your team together and have a bit of a workshop virtually or together. Use a lot of paper as well. Don't just rely on PowerPoint. Go through these questions, challenge yourself until you're laughing about your own work, because you all know what goes wrong. You all know what goes right. Challenge yourself, challenge your colleagues with these questions. What is it you do for the organization? What is it you do for other teams and departments? What is it you do for individual employees? You might actually do a lot of work for end customers outside of the organization. So I don't want to focus on that, but I will ask you to focus on when you're doing a service for a customer externally, how and when do things go wrong, and how and when do employees get involved to fix it? And how do you support those employees that fix the customer process? Think about the process maps that you follow. I wouldn't publish full process maps to our end users. I think they're often too much information. Maybe you can bullet point those process maps as a skeleton for your how-to guides. Find the pain points. As I say, there should be a workshop. You should be laughing in frustration, knowing what goes wrong every month, every quarter. Ask yourself, what irks you? You probably know what irks Janice. Ask yourself, what irks you and your colleagues? What goes wrong? What emails do you get on the dot every month? When you push out something, what emails do you get in response? When you make a change within the business, what complaints do you hear in the cafeteria? What FAQ documents do you secretly have? You know, those secret Word documents that are about 10 years old, they've been passed on from assistant to assistant or manager to manager, and they have all the links to all the things that you truly need. Why aren't those secret FAQs transformed into end user how-to guides and useful links for your homepage? What are you annoyed when end users ask you things that really they should know? When are you annoyed that people don't know the dates and deadlines? Think about those things. And no offense to Janice, who everyone is really happy to ask. They use Yammer, they use Viva Engage, they use email, they just call her. They just say, hey, Janice, when's the deadline? Hey, Janice, is it the blue form or the pink form when I've got a requisition? Because Janice is always happy to help. No offense to Janice, but her expertise should not be tacit and in her head. It should be explicit and on your departmental intranet section. And then just ask yourself, what do you wish everyone knew in their hearts and minds? Oh, if everyone knew this, my life would be easier. What would that be? How do we implement that? Okay, so you start with your content plan, and please start on paper. It's really hard if you do this in Word. It might be a bit easier if you do it in OneNote or something dynamic so that everyone could get involved. But think about it as post-it notes or lots of lists in your notebook or on a whiteboard so you can all work together. Consider what content you intend to publish. Will that be pages, or do you have to occasionally put a PDF, Word document, or PowerPoint in as well? Consider some kind of standard structure for a how-to guide. Maybe a how-to guide has to be on multiple intranet pages, but if you get some standard headings, some paragraphs, and also remember the right-hand sidebar of your page. If your intranet pages don't have a right-hand sidebar for supporting information, then that's a shame. Please email me after this and I will remind you how to do a sidebar for button links, documents, and really important boring instructions. Think about screenshotting your process maps and then hold back. Maybe your process maps should be bullet point lists so that everyone can understand them easily. But if you are doing a screenshot, remember you have to explain the screenshot really explicitly and in detail directly underneath, because not everyone can see a screenshot. Think about accessibility. Images are not always accessible. So bullet pointing process maps is probably a fair thing to do. And then when you've got your content list, so maybe you've got 6 services, and that's about initiating the service, but also it's about how do I fix the service when it goes wrong, or how do I initiate the service, or how do I engage a new member of staff in a service when it's mid-service time. I don't know, all of those how-to guides. Think about which ones must be in your menu at the top of your department landing page, and which ones are prioritized and should be buttons on your landing page as well. Because what we want to create is a service-focused, colleague-oriented landing page and site. Because you want to get your visitors straight to your services. They don't want to read your mission, vision, and values. They want to initiate or fix a broken service. So prioritize the important services and the how-to guides on your landing page, as well as in your drop-down menu. Use images for meaningful reasons. Maybe it's occasionally about brand and engagement further down the landing page, but initially, let's help people get to your services and not worry about hero images or people shaking hands. Because we want to help people serve themselves, and your site needs to support people who are just doing that. So help people start the process, help them find the app, the third-party service, the green form, whatever it is that initiates a service, help them get to it, but also help them understand the process. There may well be some gates along the process where they may need to be involved again. And be concise, because if you're writing info-dense, info-rich sentences and true bullet points, not long bullet points, but actual bullet points, then you won't need red text. You can use bold words, but never use entire bold sentences. Maybe you want to use user stories or job stories. Think about the outcome that a person is trying to achieve. Remember, because the person doesn't really care about the process. They care about the thing they want at the end of your process. Here's a story that you can use in blue, then you fill in the white bits. As a something, I need to get something done and achieve something so I can move on to my next thing. By all means, take a screenshot. We'll provide you with the video very shortly. So here's an example of a service-focused, colleague-oriented landing page. Are you shocked at the lack of images? Oh, okay, but we're at work. We're all adults, and we're on the clock. Let me take you through it. So here is a site identifier image. Do not say logo, or else you'll have brand on your back. Now, Microsoft did not make it easy to do this. There are lots of icons on buttons that you can see, and Microsoft did make that easy for me. But with SharePoint, it's not easy to make this an icon. So my advice is go to Noun Project. You can Google it, Noun Project, and purchase an icon for $4. If your team can't authorize the purchase of a $4 icon, I think you've got a problem. Surely your manager has a purchase card that they can use and just get it done without any approvals. It's just an icon, but you're not allowed to steal icons. somebody made that icon. You're not allowed to steal. So use an authorized icon from your organization's brand pack or purchase one from any of the Icon Foundry websites out there. Make it sure it's inoffensive so that when brand ask you why you've done that, you can say it's inoffensive. Here's my cascade menu. Now, as I hover over it, because you can see those little chevrons, those little V marks, that's a drop-down cascade menu. And so all of my services are available in there. Fantastic. Yes, who we are is still there for some of the more boring mission and team articles. But the service guides, the menu number 3, is the most useful menu. Everything in those drop-down menus leads a person inside your site to a page. Never an external app or website, never a Word document or PDF. Your menu is for your site, and that means your site pages. The buttons around your landing page, they might take you external, they might take you to an app or a Word document, but I'll always warn you if it's a Word document or an app. Going down, I haven't started with a welcome title. If I see the word welcome on a department site, ooh, nails on chalkboard. We've already named our site at the top left. So this is an introduction to what we do. It's not about me, it's what I can do for you. And then without further ado, we get straight into it. Here's some buttons with our most important, our most asked for or most used help guides, our how-to guides. Now, how-to guides often initiate the process as well, but their primary function is to guide a person through the process. And then, for those people who already know how the process works, they did it last month, they're doing it again this month. These standout buttons, they're white, are immediately about initiating processes. So maybe it's a form, maybe it's an app, maybe it's a web page, maybe it's an intranet page. This section, yes, it's 3 more buttons, but they're completely related to the September deadlines. So imagine, instead of having static content on your landing page, you review the content every quarter and every month to see what is happening around the business, and specifically, what is happening with our processes. Do we have end-of-year results that we've got to deal with? Do we have end-of-process agglomerations that we've got to do? Amalgamations, can't speak. Amalgamations that we've got to do. Are there deadlines? Are we trying to encourage best behavior from our visitors? So 3 buttons related to what's happening in September that I'm really hoping that my end users will do. Action these things, please. Here's a nice call to action. Like you might say every button is a call to action, but this one's a visual call to action. Again, maybe it's there quarterly, or maybe I change it and review it every month. Maybe it's related to September, or maybe it's something more long-term. And these 3 items on the right, that right-hand side, they're dealing with perhaps more secondary importance ideas, maybe ideas that people aren't really used to, so a little bit of text, and then the button to give them the how-to guide or initiate the process. So I'm going to scroll down to near the bottom now. This bit is pretty static. So what I'm doing is here, instead of having an entire page about Vision 2025, which of course used to be Vision 2024, but we've moved on, haven't we? So instead of having an entire page about Vision 2025, which I do have in that first button, here's a little bit of text already. If this is a key strategic intention for the business and my department, I'm going to express it right on the landing page and then give more information and how to get involved with the 4 buttons. And you'll notice the email address there, it's written out in full. It could have been a button, but I would still write it out in full because not everybody wants to click. Sometimes we just want to see it with our eyes and go, oh, it's Cyrus, I can email him. Or we can copy it and paste it and send it to our boss and say, hey boss, it's definitely Cyrus, please use this address. And then there's an image which is related to the vision strategy. But notice the text is real. SharePoint allows me to put real, editable, and readable text. We do not use Adobe Photoshop to put text on an image because that's often inaccessible. We might do it on social media. We don't do it on our intranet. And then here is a full banner. Now, you might think I hate wasting space with images, but I've used a small one. I've used it full width for visual impact, but it's useful. It's not particularly clickable, but it says, search for Unicron on your phone's app store. So obviously I can't force someone to go to their app store, but I'm instructing them, use your own phone right now and get the Unicron mobile app. So they might not realize they're allowed to do that, but they totally are. And as I scroll down, we get to the end bit, and you'll notice the team again. Here's my good department. And this is a new web part in SharePoint. You may or may not have it. It's called Banner. I'm unsure about it. It has lots of styles and iterations, so you might make good use of it. I'm unsure about it, but I'm just putting Adam there as the head of the good department team. And you'll see the good department team here, except they haven't done their photographs. Now, instead of collating photographs from all of my teammates and then spending 2.5 hours editing them and uploading them to SharePoint, no, what a waste of time, especially when you've got leavers and starters. Do not collate photographs and publish them on SharePoint. Make your individual team members update their actual people directory profile. And then events are real. These are upcoming and some of them are regular. But how do people get involved? They'd have to click and then read how to get involved. It's not perfect, but it's SharePoint and Outlook. Then there's a real footer. And then I've repeated the site identifier in the footer. You don't have to, it's just nice. So in conclusion, stop, start, continue. I hope you've got some Q&As for me coming up. I'm happy to go back to my previous slides. But in conclusion, stop, start, continue. Stop talking about yourselves. Stop publishing monolithic PDF and Word documents. I use that word on purpose because I know sometimes we have to publish short guides in Word and PDF because we say to ourselves, oh, a person needs to print this, or we say to ourselves, the screenshots are too difficult to put into SharePoint or into our intranet, which is not true, but I know we say that to ourselves. But if it's 60 pages long, how can that possibly help a person? They're already lost within it. I hate monolithic. Start explaining services as discrete processes, focusing on the end result, the need, the outcome, not really the process itself. Your process knowledge is yours, but the end user needs to know the milestones and when they need to be involved and how to get things done when things break down. So start publishing a suite of interconnected intranet pages for each service, explaining the services and guiding users through the milestones and when they must be on the ball. And continue helping people via messaging, phone, and email, but be ready with the link that send them the link, be ready with your link so you can send them to the exact how-to page. Do not attach documents to emails. Do not send people to PDFs and PowerPoint. Send them to the exact page they need for the query that came through to you. And hopefully they'll learn to self-serve in the future. So before I go into Q&As, if you're dissatisfied with your entire intranet entirely, not just your department sites, you might be thinking about replacing your entire system. And I suggest you download our review guide, which is massive and has reviewed, I don't know, 25 to 32 intranet systems. So the ClearBox guide to intranet systems, we've carefully reviewed so many of these systems that are out there. So it's a great place to start your shopping list. Get it from clearbox.co.uk. You can't miss it. Or use your phone now to try the QR code. A QR code is still a thing. If you use the QR code on your phone, you can register for the PDF, and we will send the PDF via email as a link. So you can download it to your desktop or your laptop for easy reading. It really is a big and beautiful PDF.